Plastids are found in almost all the plant cells as well as in euglenoids because they are the ones which contain the chlorophyll pigments in them that are necessary for photosynthesis. Chloroplast is a plastid that contains a green color pigment or chlorophyll pigment in them. What are the thylakoid? They are flattened membranous sac-like structures which are present, and each of the stack that is there, they are arranged in the form of pile, and that pile is called as grana. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to the session on class 11th biology for CBSE. I'm Dr. Divya, biology faculty, Vidhyaashram, School of Excellence, Mysuru. So in this session, we'll learn about the topic plastids under cell, the unit of life. So we'll discuss about this topic and then move on to learning some of the important MCQs that can be framed under this particular topic. So to begin with, plastids. So plastids are found in almost all the plant cells as well as in euglenoids because they are the ones which contain the chlorophyll pigments in them that are necessary for photosynthesis. So you find them in plant cells as well as in euglenoids. Euglenoids, they are the organisms which come under the protists in the animal kingdom, right? So you have learnt about that in Kingdom Animalia chapter, or Animal Kingdom chapter, wherein they have a covering which is called as pellicle. That is one of the major peculiar characteristic of that particular organism. And in euglenoid also you tend to find plastids. And these plastids, they have some specific pigments. So what are pigments? Anything that imparts a color, it is called as a pigment. Pigments are nothing but a tinge of color. It's color. So especially in plants. So I told you they contain chlorophyll pigments in them, and based on the type of pigments, the plastids, so what kind of pigment is present in them, the plastids are again classified into chloroplast, chromoplast and leucoplast. So we will study one by one of these, that is chloroplast, chromoplast and leucoplast. So talking about chloroplast. So chloroplast, you all have studied about chloroplast in the plants as well as in bacteria, that is in cyanobacteria, blue-green algae, right? So this chloroplast, they contain pigments in them which are called as chlorophyll, and that chlorophyll pigment is green in color, which imparts that green color to the plant. So therefore, chloroplast is a plastid that contains a green color pigment or chlorophyll pigment in them. And apart from having chlorophyll pigment, they also have the pigment which is orange in color, that is carotenoid pigments, which are responsible. So both these chloroplasts, majorly the chloroplast, it is responsible for trapping the light energy, which is very, very essential for photosynthesis, wherein whatever carbon dioxide and water is there in the presence of light, wherein the chloroplast will trap that light and convert the carbon dioxide and the water to glucose and energy. So that is how photosynthesis occurs. Next, talking about leucoplast, one more type of plastid. Leucoplast, they are colorless plastid, meaning they do not have a particle, they do not have color at all. They are colorless and they can be of different shapes and sizes. And in these plastids, they store some nutrients. So chloroplasts are not, they don't store nutrients, but they are site for photosynthesis, whereas these leucoplasts, they are colorless and they store nutrients in them. So based on what type of nutrients they store, leucoplasts are divided into two types, that is amyloplast and aleuroplast. So amyloplast, it stores carbohydrates, that is starch. Example, in potato, because potato contains lot of starch, and that starch, if you take that, scrape the cells and observe under the microscope, you can see amyloplast, that is starch cells in them. And eleoplast, so one more is eleoplast, they store oils and fats. So there are three types under leucoplast. One is amyloplast, the second one is eleoplast, and the third one is aleuroplast. So amyloplast, it stores carbohydrates, that is starch, for example in potatoes. Eleoplast stores oils and fats, so we can take peanut as an example. And aleuroplast, it stores protein. So these plastids, they are colorless, but their main function is to store nutrients or food material. Next, moving to chromoplast. The name itself says chroma. Chroma means color. So these plastids are colored. So they contain fat-soluble carotenoid pigments like carotene, xanthophylls, So xanthophylls, for example, they are the pigment which gives coloration to plants, especially algae and all that, because algae, that is the fucoxanthin pigment, for example, which is a xanthophyll pigment that provides the coloration to the algae or the brown color to the algae. So brown algae, that is Phaeophyceae members, they have this xanthophyll pigment in them. So therefore, it gives the part of the plant a yellow, orange or a red color. So that is why it appears almost similar to brownish colors they have in them. So it is because of the presence of the chromoplast. So therefore, chloroplast, leucoplast and chromoplast. So moving further, we'll study the structure of chloroplast. In this chapter, that is leucoplast and chromoplast, their structures are not discussed in detail, but chloroplast is discussed because next onwards you'll have to study about photosynthesis. So that is why this is being discussed here. So chloroplasts, they are found in the mesophyll cell. So where do you find the mesophyll cells? In the leaves, right? Be it the monocot or the dicot leaf. So if it is dicot leaf, especially in the palisade parenchyma, in the mesophyll region of the leaf, that is the palisade parenchyma cells, there are a lot of chloroplasts being distributed there. And they can be of different shape, the chloroplasts, that is lens shape. They can be oval, spherical, discoid or even ribbon-like organelles, which can be a length of about 5 to 10 micrometer and width of about 2 to 4 micrometer. So the length of the chloroplast is about 5 to 10 micrometer and the width is about 2 to 4 micrometer. So this is the size of the chloroplast. So this is 5 to 10 micrometer is the length, and the number can vary 1 per cell. And for example, Chlamydomonas, a green algae, wherein it contains 20 to 40 chloroplasts in one cell that is present in its mesophyll. So if it is 20 to 40, then 100 cells means 20 into 100. So it's like that. So the number can vary depending on the depending on the environment in which they're living, the habitat in which they're living and all that. So this is about the general information. Now let's move on to the structure of the chloroplast. So what is it made up of? So when we look at the chloroplast, it has a 2 membrane. So therefore it is a double membrane bound organelle. So it has 2 membrane, that is the outer membrane and the inner membrane. So outer membrane and the inner membrane. And inner chloroplast membrane is relatively less permeable. So which is relatively less permeable? The inner membrane. So the inner membrane of the chloroplast that is there, it is less permeable. So what do you mean by permeability? Permeability means the ability of layer or a membrane to allow certain substances to enter and move out of the cell in this particular case. So here the inner membrane is less permeable, means it will not allow all the substances to enter into the stroma of the chloroplast, but it will allow only certain substances to enter into. That is what it means by less permeability. So the inner membrane decides which substance has to come into the chloroplast and which substance has to leave the chloroplast. And there is a space which is limited by the inner membrane of the chloroplast, and it is called as stroma. So stroma, it is nothing but a fluid matrix, fluid component. We can call it as component because matrix is the term given in mitochondria. So how matrix is a fluid component in mitochondria, same way in chloroplast we have the stroma. They are granular in nature and it is present towards the inner membrane. So the chloroplast is filled with the fluid component which is called as the stroma, and in the stroma there are a lot of flattened membranous sacs, and these membranous sacs are called as thylakoids. So if you can see here, thylakoid. So what are the thylakoid? They are flattened membranous sac-like structures which are present, and each of the stack that is there, they are arranged in the form of pile, and that pile is called as grana, meaning the whole of this together we call it as grana. So this is the grana. So it's marked here. So whole of this is called as grana. Like thylakoid is one single plate, okay, and you keep a number of plates one above the other, all together you call it as a grana, okay, you understood, no? So that is about grana. And flat membranous tubules are there which is called as stroma lamellae. Now don't get confused with stroma and stroma lamellae. So stroma is nothing but the fluid component that is present inside the chloroplast, And in the stroma, what is there? Thylakoids are there. Thylakoid are sac-like structures. Now, each of the thylakoids stacked one above the other to form a pile, you call it as the grana. Now, each of these grana are interconnected to one another by tube-like or membrane-like structure, and that membrane-like structure, because it is present in the stroma, it is called as stroma lamella. Lamella means membrane. Where is that membrane present? In the stroma. What does the stroma lamella do? It connects the one grana with that of the other. So that is called as stroma lamellae. So these connections that you find, so this one and even here, lots of connections that you find between each of the grana that you call as the stroma lamellae. And with the membrane of the thylakoid, they enclose a space called as lumen. So the thylakoid also contains a membrane, and between that membrane there is a space, or within the thylakoid, that space that is there in towards the inner side of the membrane, we call it as the lumen. Like how we call this as stroma, in the thylakoid it is called as lumen. So that is the difference. Okay. So this is about the structure of the chloroplast, and this is very, very important in exam point of view. With the diagram, they can ask the structure. Either they can ask you only to draw the diagram, which is for 3 marks. So in this chapter, for 3 marks, usually the question appears. So moving further, the stroma of the chloroplast, it contains certain enzymes, and that enzymes are needed for the synthesis of carbohydrates and proteins, because at the end of the day, whatever light is trapped by the chloroplast, the carbon dioxide and water is getting converted into glucose and proteins. So for that, certain enzymes are needed, and those enzymes are present in the stroma of the chloroplast. And apart from having the enzymes, the stroma of the chloroplast also contains double-stranded circular DNA molecules, and also it contains ribosomes that are needed for the protein synthesis. And they also contain chlorophyll pigments in the thylakoid. So in the stroma of the chloroplast, what all is present? Enzymes which are needed for the synthesis of carbohydrates and proteins is present. Apart from that, small circular DNA is present, and some ribosomes are also present. And in the case of thylakoid, what is present? In thylakoid, the chlorophyll pigment is present. So usually we used to say that chlorophyll pigment, it is there in the chloroplast. But where in the chloroplast? In the thylakoid. And the ribosomes of the chloroplast, they contain smaller, they are smaller. That is, they are 70S. They are made up of 70S subunit ribosome. And in the cytoplasmic ribosome, it is 80S. So don't get confused. The ribosomes which are present in the cytoplasm of the cell, it is 80S. The ribosome that are present in the stroma of the chloroplast, it is what? 70S. So don't get confused in the exam. So this is about the chloroplast. So now we have an idea of the structure and the components present in the chloroplast. Let's move on to learning the MCQs. So which of the following statement is not true regarding the occurrence of plastids? Found in plant cells, occurs in euglenoid, seen in animal cells, none of the above. So plastids, usually you don't see them in animal cells, but it is found in plant cells as well as it is found in protist, or you can say it is found in protist, because euglenoid is nothing but kingdom, it is under kingdom protista, so that is why. So therefore, the right answer here is seen in animal cells, because you don't find plastids in animal cells. That is one of the major difference here. Plant cells have plastids, animal cells do not. Next, which of these is not a type of plastid? Chloroplast, chromoplast, thylakoid, leucoplast. So it is chloroplast and chromoplast are two colored plastids. Leucoplast is colorless plastid. Thylakoid is nothing but they are the sac-like structures which are present in the chloroplast, which contains the chlorophyll pigment. So therefore, the right answer here is thylakoid is not a kind of plastid. Next question, dash organelle contains pigments in them. Endoplasmic reticulum, plastids, centrosome, Golgi body. So plastids contain pigments in them, especially the chromoplast and the chloroplast. Next question, the plastid which contains chlorophyll pigment is called chloroplast. So chloroplast, option A, chloroplast. It's not chromoplast. Chromoplast, they contain carotene, xanthophyll, all that. And the leucoplast, they are colorless. Amyloplast, they come under leucoplast itself. So therefore, the right answer here is chloroplast. Next, yellow, orange or red color in plants is due to, it is chromoplast. Green color in plant is due to chloroplast. Yellow, orange or red color is due to chromoplast because they contain carotene and xanthophyll in them. So that is why. Which are the two pigments present in chromoplast? It is carotene and xanthophyll. That is in chromoplast. In chloroplast it is chlorophyll. And leucoplast, they are colorless. They do not have any color. Colorless. And amyloplast is, it comes under leucoplast. They are the storage plastids. Next, dash are colorless plastids. It is leucoplast. Leucoplast are colorless plastids. Next question. Carbohydrates in plants are stored in chloroplast, elaioplast, chromoplast and amyloplast. Chloroplast helps in the process of photosynthesis. It has nothing to do with storage of carbohydrate. Elaioplast, chromoplast is also a colorful plastid wherein it is a fat and oil soluble, lipid soluble plastid, but it doesn't store any components. So therefore, we are left with elaioplast and amyloplast. In that, amyloplast actually stores carbohydrates. So carbohydrates is stored by amyloplast. Elaioplast actually stores fat and oil. Fats, oils. Then we have one more, alluroplast. You can remember this like this. If you remember monocot seed, I hope you remember monocot seed. It contains a layer called as alluron, right? And it is rich in protein. Same way here. So it is rich in protein. Therefore here, remember this alluro. When the word comes alluro, it has something to do with protein. So they store protein. Okay. So the right answer here is amyloplast, which stores carbohydrate. Elaioplast stores fats and oils. Alluroplast stores proteins. Moving further, elaioplast in plants help in storing oils and fats, starch. So starch is again amyloplast because starch is nothing but a complex carbohydrate. Carbohydrate is also amyloplast itself. Protein is alluroplast. So it is elaioplast which stores oils and fats. Option A is the right answer here. Next. The fluid matrix inside chloroplast is called matrix. Matrix we call it in mitochondria. But in chloroplast, we call it as stroma. Cytoplasm, the fluid matrix present inside the cell altogether, we call it as cytoplasm. And in the cytoplasm, what is there? Chloroplast is there. Inside the chloroplast, what is there? Stroma is there. In the stroma, what is there? There are circular DNA is there, ribosome is there, then thylakoid is there, grana is there. Stroma lamella is there, all that is there. I think you have understood. So the fluid matrix inside chloroplast is called stroma. And it's not chloroplasm. There is nothing like chloroplasm. Don't get confused. So it is stroma. Next question. Flattened membranous sacs or compartments in chloroplast are called thylakoids, cristae, stroma, grana. So flattened membranous sacs or compartments. Now you might get confused between thylakoid and grana. Grana are stacks of thylakoid, but here you have to choose the answer thylakoid. The right answer is thylakoid because each thylakoid is a flattened membranous sac-like structure and the thylakoids together we call it as the grana. So next question, stacks of thylakoid in chloroplast are called. See here, stacks of thylakoid. So what are stacks of thylakoid called? They are called as grana. It's not stroma. Stroma is the fluid matrix inside the chloroplast. Lamella is the membrane. Matrix is in mitochondria. So therefore, grana is the right answer here. Next, thylakoids of different grana are connected to one another by, so they have some connections. So it is connected by a membranous structure. Now, membrane is called as what? In biology, membrane is called as lamellae or lamella. Now, where is this lamellae or lamella present? In the stroma of the chloroplast. So what is this now? It is stroma lamellae. Each of the grana are connected to one another by bridges called as stroma lamellae. Next question. Dash is not a component of chloroplast stroma. Double-stranded circular DNA. Read the question properly. I am asking about it is not a component of chloroplast. It doesn't belong to chloroplast. Double-stranded circular DNA, it is there in chloroplast. It is there in the stroma of the chloroplast. Ribosomes are also there. Which one? 70S ribosomes are present in the chloroplast. Chlorophyll pigments are also there in the chloroplast. That is especially in the thylakoid they are present. It's matrix. Matrix is not there. Matrix is something related to mitochondria. So therefore, option D is the right answer here, matrix. Moving further, chloroplasts contain ribosomes of dash subunit 60, 70, 85, 50. So it is 70S. And ATS is ribosome subunit in the cytoplasm. In chloroplast, it is 70S. So this was about the session wherein a few important questions that are likely to appear for the exam has been framed under this particular topic. So in the next session, we'll meet again wherein we'll discuss another topic under this particular chapter and also learn some of the MCQs under it. So I hope you found the session useful. So see you in the next session with a new topic and the MCQs. Thank you.